Hey everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. I am kind of surprised myself that I have this. I do not own this figure, the Dark Knight Detective, or the Batman Dark Detective from Future State. The story arc didn't really do much for me, the figure didn't do much for me, so I passed on the comic, I passed on the figure. But I am a sucker for things like this. This is the Jokerized Batman Dark Detective, and from what we've heard from McFarlane, there's going to be a series of these figures in the Bat family. They're going to be Jokerized. This is the first of them. They're all, as far as I know, going to be gold label, Target exclusives, and this was the first one in the line. I am a sucker for things like this, especially when I know there's going to be a series of them, especially when I know it's just sort of like a one-off or like a one-shot deal. Like, this is just something they're doing for fun. I don't know why I got wrapped up with this, but then when I got it in my hand, I thought this was going to be one of those things that, like, I ordered it just because I'm a sucker for it, but then I got it in my hand and I would be like, why did I get this? But then when I opened up the box from Target and I opened this and I got this out, I was like, this is actually kind of cool. Because I really like how they've even, like, Jokerized the box right here. Like, it doesn't say Batman Dark Detective Jokerized. It has the standard label, DC Future State, but then it's, like, kind of scratched out. And it has, like, the Joker graffiti and the paint blotches all over the packaging. And the back, as far as I know, is the same image that was on the Dark Detective, that was on the Dark Detective box when it first came out. Just has all the Joker graffiti with the Joker signal up here. I like how they kind of drew that in. And I think that is a really, really cool touch, that it's just like Joker's hands, like this little dead Batman figure cartoon down here. And it's just like Joker has his hands on everything about this. You can see that even the stand has been Jokerized. We have some playing cards back there that we'll take a look at. I'm pretty sure the collector card is the same as the Dark Detective collector card, just with some Joker graffiti on it. And I'm curious to see how this stand setup right here works. I'm a sucker for this. What else can I say? Like, not only am I a sucker for things like this, but like variant covers on comic books. I am totally the mark for things like that, especially if you have a bunch of variant covers that when you put them together, they make one big picture. That's kind of how this is for me. This is a variant of the Dark Detective, and there's going to be a whole series of them that you're going to be able to put together. I don't know. Is it a waste of money? Is it a gimmick? Obviously, it's a gimmick. But how good of a gimmick is it? Let's find out. So without further ado, let's get this box open and let's take a look at McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman Dark Detective Jokerized. All right, here he is, Jokerized Batman, the Dark Detective, out of his box. And putting the tape measure to him, we can see that he is just over 7¼ inches tall to the top of his bat ears. Now, I have to admit, I am having a lot more fun with this guy than I thought I was going to. I avoided the first figure, like I said in the beginning, because the first figure was kind of boring. It's just Batman in a trench coat with sort of like this half-cow thing going on. I don't know, it just didn't do much for me. Didn't do much for me in the comics, didn't do much for me in figure form. But this is kind of fantastic. It has some issues, it's not perfect, and we'll go over those as well, but I really dig what Todd has done with this Jokerized version, and already I'm looking forward to the other ones coming down the line. First of all, I love what he did with the face sculpt here. Now, I don't know if this grimace of showing these teeth was the original figure or if this is a new face sculpt, so I can't comment on that. But I love this, like, snarling, toothy thing he has going on, the painted on Joker smile, which I'm not a fan of the painted on smile on Joker, but on things like this, I think it looks very good. The pale, like, chalk white skin and those eyes, those just gold metallic reflective eyes, all hidden in this black cowl. Like, this looks phenomenal. And I especially love this. Like, he has the armor on underneath, but the bat symbol is just on there like somebody just held a stencil up to his chest and spray painted it on. And that looks great too. Of course, we have, this Joker purple trench coat here. And the trench coat has this perpetual swoosh like he's standing in the wind. We have McFarlane capes, we're used to that, but this is a very malleable, very soft plastic. I appreciate that. I like that he's going to this sort of softer plastic for the capes, so it's not just this hard shell that won't move. The rest of the figure is pretty much what you get with the standard Dark Knight figure as far as I know. I like the gold on the belt. The gold on the belt, even though that's the only other place there's gold, accentuates the eyes, really makes the eyes pop even more. And then we have sort of like this olive drab right here on his shoulder pads. We have this olive drab for the gauntlets, the black of the gauntlets, the leg paint, the shins and thigh pads sort of matching the rest of the padding around here. These olive drab khaki pants, his utility pouches, the grappling hook, going old school with it, really like that. And then the boots, I like how the boots just kind of look like somebody poured paint on them. Like somebody just walked up and like just dumped some green paint on them. You can see the black of the boot like coming through the spackled paint job right there. I think it's great. I think this is a really fun looking figure. I think this is a very bright figure, very vibrant. I think it's definitely something that's going to look good on the shelf, especially once we have all of the other ones lined up. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to having this series lined up. I'm really happy that these are the Target exclusives while Walmart got DC versus Vampires, because I think we got the better deal with Walmart. Oh, and the gauntlets. I forgot to point out the gauntlets. The gauntlets here are the same as the boots, where it's that spackled green, like he just dipped his hands in a paint bucket, where you can see it's kind of more prominent on the fingers than it is on the back of the gloves. That's really cool. Like just this whole haphazard paint job going on, except for the trench coat. And it's almost like the trench coat is right out of Joker's own wardrobe. This whole thing works. Like this, like I said, I am much more excited about this than I thought I was going to be. This whole thing works so much better than what I expected visually. Now let's look at the articulation, because there is where we start to run into some problems. And unfortunately, most of it comes from this. So the head will do, it's a little tight, but it'll do a full 360. He can look up fairly well. He can look down fairly well. He has some really good head tilt, which, look at that, which really helps with like these madman poses. That's fantastic. Arms will do a complete 360. He has a butterfly joint. You can even see it moves the coat a little bit, but the coat does hinder it a bit. And now this shoulder pad, you'll notice that when I spun the arm, the shoulder pad is part of the shoulder and not the coat, which for this is very good. However, it limits the articulation. He can't even get up to 90. That's as far as he can go. He has the bicep swivel, double jointed elbows with some really good travel, everything that we're used to with McFarlane Toys, including the wrists that they swivel, and they'll pivot up and down, or you can do this, and then you can do that, and then they pivot in and out. These gauntlet pieces right here, the hands don't really come off, but these gauntlet pieces right here that come down to the wrist, they do sort of hinder wrist articulation a little bit. Oh, wait, maybe I can scooch these back a little bit. There we go. All right. So we can make that work. Now, Bruce, get your arms up in the air like you just don't care. Now, we have a ab cut right here, and it's kind of hidden by the plating of the armor, which is cool. It helps to disguise it. And you can get your turning out of that. You can get some side to side. But see that? That's one of the first problems. And I don't know if the original figure did this, because like I said, I don't have it. But there's the socket. There's the ball. It doesn't want to seem to play very well. And then whenever you try and pop it back in, it doesn't feel like there's a very satisfying pop there. And then if you try and go back, it does the same thing. And I think the problem is the coat, to be completely honest. I think the problem is the coat and back, and I think the problem is the flaps up front of the front armor. If you put too much pressure on it, it just pulls and pops out of that shallow socket in there. Oh, I forgot to mention, I didn't even notice that until just now, that you have the khaki green of the shirt underneath, under the armor. That's really cool. But you also have the ball joint at the waist, so you can do a full spin right there. Doesn't really go back much. The crunch forward is very generous. And then he has more side to side. So using all of them in tandem, you can get some good movement out of it. I just wouldn't put too much pressure or too much of the heavy lifting on this ab joint right here, because you saw how much it just keeps popping out. The other issue that keeps popping out, and I had this with the arms, is, see that? If you get a little too overzealous with the arms because of the combination of this padding, and I think it's the thickness of the coat, because I found that if you peel the arms, the coat back, and then you pop the arm in, you get a lot more range. And I know they came out with two versions of this figure, one with the coat on and one with the coat off, in the regular version of the figure, rather. And I think this thing, the issue is that the figure was designed with the coat off, and the coat having this thickness just adds a little bit more of hindrance, and that's when you run into problems with the arm articulation. Now, unfortunately, let's pop that off again. I don't want to pull it out. You can see the coat is pegged in there, but it also feels like it's glued in there. I don't want to try and rip it out, so mine is going to exist with the coat on. So let's pop that back in, and there we go. Now, down to the legs. Legs will come forward. Legs will go back very well, even with the coat on. You see what I mean by it being very flexible? It does bend up out of the way. Legs come out to the side to there. The leg does have that hidden hip joint, but then look at this. He has a thigh cut. He has a thigh swivel. I don't understand the logic behind why some of his figures have a thigh swivel, a thigh cut, and some don't. Like on the Dark Knight Returns Batman, I get why he had that cut. It helped put him on the horse. It put him in a more natural pose on the horse so that he could get his legs out and bend them around the horse. I don't know why he gave this one a thigh cut. I'm not complaining. I like it. I'd like to see more of his figures with that. We have double jointed knees with some really good travel. Thigh cut, no boot cut, but the ankles will pivot. The ankles will rock back. The ankles will rock forward. It has a forward-facing pin for some rocker. And, of course, we have our toe articulation. One area with the paint apps that I think is a slight fail is right in here at the arms, where he still has these flesh-toned arms. I feel like they should have taken this pale skin tone that they put on his head sculpt, and I feel like they should have carried that over into the arms as well. So our Jokerized Batman Dark Detective doesn't come with any accessories, but he does come with a few unique pack-ins. And these playing cards are one of them. We have the 10 of diamonds, we have the King of diamonds, we have the Ace of spades, and then we have the Queen of spades right here. No, I'm sorry, is that the Queen of clubs? That's the Queen of clubs. They look like spades. So is that the Ace of spades? Yeah. We have the Ace of spades, and it looks like the Queen of clubs. And you can see all of these playing cards have been Jokerized. I love how it's like Joker on one side, Batman on the other side. I think this is fun. I think these are really funny. And it makes me wonder, are we going to get enough Jokerized figures that we're actually going to get a full deck of cards right here? So I just think this is really cool. That's really cool. And then the back of the deck, it's not bad, actually. Like, this is a pretty decent card back for the deck. Even has like the DC Multiverse figure logos on it. I think this is really cool. I think this is a unique pack-in. I think this is one of the things that's going to make the figure unique, the figure very collectible. That's the King of Hearts. Okay, the 10 of diamonds, the Queen of spades. The Queen of clubs, and the Ace of spades. All right. I think this is a very unique pack-in. I think this is one of the things that like makes it like very collectible. This is one of the reasons I feel that you would want to get all of the figures just so you can have these cards. It may just be 10s and face cards and aces. I don't know. I don't think we know how many Jokerized figures he's actually going to make. I do think it would be really cool if we had a full deck, though. Another unique pack-in that we get is the figure stand, and it's a Jokerized figure stand, purple with this gaudy green for the bat symbol and the circle around it. And I'm curious to see if this is going to be the figure stand we get with all of the Jokerized figures, or if they're going to be sort of personalized to the figure that it comes with. Of course, we get the collector's card, as we do with all of the DC Multiverse figures, but this one has been Jokerized just like everything else has. I believe this was the original collector's card, just with some Joker graffiti on it. Once again, I love that whole, like, Joker signal that's, like, shining up in the background. Ha ha ha, all over the place, the purple splotch. Even on the back, we have a little bit of graffiti, and once again, scratching out the DC future state, kind of mimicking the packaging that it came in, so that if you're like me and you get rid of the packaging, you still have all of these features that were on the packaging. I think that's a really cool touch. And the bio, as far as I know, hasn't changed for this version of Batman, that they didn't try to give like an in-universe reason why he's a Jokerized version of Batman. I dig that too. Now, the final unique pack-in we get is this. This is another stand. You can see it has a slot where you can slide a card down into, but even this has been Jokerized. That, like, you can see how this should have just been presented clean. DC logo holds the cards. It has a cutout down here so that if you want to, you can set the figure stand down, and then you can sort of have a little bit of overlap with the figure stand to make like a display piece. Or you can have it just, off to the side. But what I like about this is that the card, I believe it's intended to hold the trading card in there. So you can have that as part of the display. You can either have that facing out, or you can flip it around and you can show off the bio. But it's also sized correctly that if you want to, you could put one of the playing cards in there and display it with a playing card as well. And I think that's so cool. I think that is so cool that you can have this, you can set this up, and then you can bring in your Batman, and once he's on the stand, you can have sort of like this. Oh, I just put him on the stand. You can have sort of this whole display thing going on, because this is going to be a very unique display, and they are more than likely not going to fit in with anything else on the shelf. But once again, I'm just thinking ahead to how this is going to look once we have the rest of the Jokerized figures. We don't even know if they're all going to be Batman. It might be some of the other heroes too. Heck, he's reused that Flash mold how many times? Don't be surprised if we get a Jokerized Flash. But I think this is so cool, this display possibility right here. Like, if you try and put it behind him, it is tight. It is a cramped display, but it does help to save space on the shelf. I'm probably going to be doing something like that. And now for size comparison, here he is next to McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Rebirth Joker and Batman from Detective Comics 1000. Here he is beside Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Cobra Trooper and Snake Eyes. Here he is beside Lanyard Toys City Hunter Predator and Xenomorph Drone. Here he is beside Mattel Masterverse Masters of the Universe movie Skeletor and 40th Anniversary He-Man. And finally, here he is beside NECA Toys Dungeons & Dragons Warduke and Grimsword. And I love that Grimsword is so tall, he's off the screen. I am having a lot more fun with this figure than I expected. I think I pretty much conveyed that throughout the video, that I didn't think I was going to enjoy this figure this much. He doesn't come with any accessories. It's a figure that some people have already bought. It's a total repaint, but it is such a unique repaint. It is such a collectible repaint. And the addition of having that unique figure stand, the card stand, the playing cards, and just even like the trading card as is, graffitied on its own, I think the whole thing just works. It looks fantastic. It's definitely not for everybody. I will freely admit that. Not everybody is going to be into this. But if you like weird alternatives that have absolutely no reason whatsoever to exist, this is definitely for you, I feel. This is definitely something that like only Todd would have thought of, and I'm serious about that. Like, we know he loves Batman, we know he loves Joker, we know he loves like mashing things together, and I really think like if anybody else was handling the line, we wouldn't have something quite like this. And I am amazed at how well it works. Now, you may be watching this and you may think that is an abomination, that is hideous, I don't know why anybody would like that. That's cool. Like I said, this definitely isn't for everybody, but I feel the people that this is for are really gonna love it. It is a Target exclusive. Last I checked, time of recording, it was still available at Target. I'll put a link in the description below. And I hope if you want one, you can get one. And from what I understand, pre-orders for the next one have been hinted at on Todd's Twitter page, on McFarlane Toys' Twitter page. So I'm actually keeping my eyes open for that. I'm looking forward to the next one. I can't wait to see the next one. So until we get the next one, play well, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.